What actually happens when a single spilled diet soda ends up costing you your passport, your job, and literally your entire life plan? Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the cinematic mechanics of Lost in Love. We're going to break down how this film takes a completely disastrous rom-com road trip and transforms it into an absolute masterclass in narrative storytelling. I want you to imagine this incredibly high-stakes scenario. You're on a trip and a total stranger spills soda right on your lap, completely frying your phone. While you're distracted trying to clean it up, your tour bus just leaves. And the worst part? Your passport is on that bus. You are now entirely off the grid, and because of it, you are about to lose your high-powered corporate job back home. In real life, that's a total nightmare, right? But in cinema, well, it is the absolute perfect inciting incident. Okay, let's dive into this core premise of the film. It all kicks off with this disastrous meet cute at the incredibly breathtaking ancient ruins of Ephesus. You've got these two complete strangers who are suddenly and very literally trapped in the Turkish countryside. No money, zero identification, and not even a working cell phone between them. Section 1. The diet soda disaster and opposites on the road.
Whenever we talk about screenwriting, we always look for what's called the inciting incident. It's that key event that really hooks us and thrusts the protagonist right into the main action. In this story, it's that spilled soda on the tour bus. And honestly, it's a wonderfully effective device. It completely destroys their modern lifeline, the cell phone, and physically separates our characters from their luggage and their passports. It forces these two into a shared, desperate fight for survival. And this setup brilliantly illustrates that classic rom-com duality we all know and love. We've got two extreme opposites forced together. On one side, there's Jeb. He's this rigid, tightly wound tech executive who relies on pure logistics. And right now, he's actually facing a massive corporate coup back in Atlanta. Then, on the other side, we have Hope. She's a spontaneous, incredibly compassionate veterinarian who's on this deeply personal journey to find emotional closure after the death of her mother. So you literally have ruthless corporate survival pitted directly against heartfelt compassion. The film meticulously maps out their forced proximity road trip across Turkey, and the escalation is just fantastic. We start with them getting abandoned at Ephesus on day 1. By day 2, things are so desperate they're hitchhiking and sleeping in an ancient military fort. Day 3 hits, and they are literally bartering their labor at a Turkish bath just to afford a cheap room near the Grand Bazaar. Day 4 brings them to Thermal Springs, and it all builds up to day 5 with the big climax in Istanbul. With every single passing day, you can see how their shared reliance on one another drastically escalates.
But, the chemistry definitely isn't instant. The tension early on is through the roof. Just listen to the sheer panic in Jeb's voice right after they get stranded. He snaps, "If it wasn't for your clumsiness, you'd be on that bus. My passport is in my bag. Without it, I can't get on a plane." That line perfectly captures Jeb's initial state of mind. He's hostile, he's totally defensive, and his entire worldview is completely wrapped up in logistical control.
But Hope, she doesn't just sit there and take it. She fires right back at him. "Stop acting like it's all my fault. I didn't force you to get off the bus, and I didn't tell the bus driver to leave you." This snappy, defensive banter is so crucial. The director is intentionally showcasing the friction required to build their eventual chemistry. I mean, think about it. If they agreed on everything right from the start, there'd be absolutely no narrative drive. Section 2. The Mother's MacGuffin. Now, to shift the tone from a stressful comedy of errors to a much deeper thematic journey, the film utilizes a brilliant structural tool called a MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is essentially an object or device that drives the plot forward and gives the characters their core motivation. In Lost in Love, this MacGuffin is a series of sealed envelopes. They were left by Hope's late mother, with incredibly strict instructions. Hope cannot open them until she reaches specific historical sites in Turkey. The director uses these letters so cleverly to pace the road trip and organically inject these beautiful themes of love and letting go. For instance, at the ancient fort, the letter talks about finding strength in old walls, which directly helps Hope process her grief. Then, at the Grand Bazaar, the letter urges her to try new things. And this actually gets the usually rigid Jeb to step totally out of his comfort zone and try some fresh Turkish delight. Later, at the Thermal Springs, the mother's letter gives perspective on a past romance, which masterfully shifts the romantic tension between Hope and Jeb in the present day. The language the mother uses in these letters is just beautiful. At one point she writes, "I close my eyes and let that sound, those waves, wash away my worries. No matter your worries, give it a try." The film very intentionally slows down its frantic, anxiety-inducing pacing during these readings to deliver its true emotional core.
It's like a gentle cinematic reminder for all of us to just stop rushing.
And what's great is that the mother's influence isn't only emotional, it's also highly practical. Hope actually inherited a 3-step haggling technique from her mom's old thrift store days that literally saves them from starving on the road. Step 1, you gotta smile. Mean business, but stay cool. Step 2, make intense eye contact. And step 3, deliver a firm, confident handshake. Throwing this humor into the mix perfectly balances out the heavier emotional beats of grief and loss. Section 3, the director's vision and climax.
Let's move on and see how this all builds up. The director has a crystal clear vision here. They are using this breathtaking, ancient backdrop of Turkey to deliberately strip away all the noisy distractions of modern life. Think about it. When your credit cards get flagged for fraud and your cell phone drowns in a puddle of diet soda, what's actually left? You are forced to rely on human connection. You literally have to barter your own labor just for a safe place to sleep. It forces both the characters and us, the viewers, to realize that these shared, messy human experiences far outlast our rigid, modern career ambitions.
Which brings us right to the climax. The tour company finally catches up with them, Jeb gets his phone back, calls his co-worker, and realizes he has exactly one narrow window to catch a flight back to Atlanta to save his job from his toxic boss. So the climax becomes this massive clash of ideologies. Is he going to choose the flight to Atlanta, embracing fear, pure logic, and corporate survival? Or is he going to choose to stay with Hope for her final stop in Istanbul, embracing love, spontaneity, and truly living in the moment?
In screenwriting structure, you absolutely need an all-is-lost moment. And man, do we get a brutal one here. Jeb temporarily snaps right back to his old defensive self. He just yells at Hope, "I've wasted enough time with all of this. I don't have the luxury of sticking around for a bunch of letters that don't mean anything to me." It is harsh. He abandons her at the Springs and rushes off to the airport. In that moment, we're meant to feel like the magical spell of the road trip has been completely shattered by cold, hard reality. But then, we get this beautiful thematic synthesis. Hope is standing all alone in Istanbul, finally reading her mother's last letter. The letter reads, "Follow your heart, trust your instincts, break out of our mold, and stop seeing the differences between us." Now, on the surface, the mother is writing about wishing she had broken out of her own mold with Hope when she was still alive. But narratively, those words are speaking directly to Jeb's ultimate realization as he sits in that quiet hotel lobby just staring at his ticket home. So, the crucial point is this culminating moment. Hope is taking a photo in Istanbul and suddenly Jeb appears. He didn't get on the plane. And he looks at her and says, "Nothing that truly matters is on that plane or back home. It's right here." That single line is everything. It proves that this messy, forced proximity road trip didn't just delay his corporate plans, it completely and permanently altered his priorities. The cinematic journey, from the rigid, walled-off tech guy at the ruins of Ephesus to the open, vulnerable man standing in Istanbul, is finally complete. And honestly, that is exactly what makes Lost in Love such an incredibly effective narrative. It takes something as simple as a spilled soda and some lost luggage to ask us a much bigger, much more profound question. Are we letting our own rigid plans, our constant cell phone checking, and our corporate anxieties blind us to the real adventures and genuine human connections standing right in front of us? It's definitely something to think about the next time your carefully laid plans go completely off the rails. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you next time.